Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners. Thank you once again for tuning in for the Q&A series. Today we have a little bit of a loaded question. We're going to be covering the idea or the concept of head of household in Islam. What does that mean exactly? I'll read the full question and then we will address it in parts. And if there is any follow-up, as usual, you can feel free to comment and let us know, and we can always expound on that in future sessions. But for purposes of today, I'll read the question and then we will address it in parts. So qawwam, in the verse that mentions qawwamun, is generally been explained as looking out for the family, taking care of the women and the children, based on the fact that men have physical strength and being the family's representative outside, just as women are responsible for caring for the children, for example. So the person is asking, their understanding is that most scholars, if they talk to a wife's duty to be obedient, it is in matters of conjugal rights, or, for example, not leaving the home without the permission or without any particular reason or purpose. Obviously, in matters of religion, one does not follow anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what about everything else? Most decisions in life are not either religiously right or wrong, but they could still be right or wrong, better or worse, harmful or helpful in a worldly sense. So what is to be done in a situation could be as simple as choosing a school or a method of discipline or going out or other similar situations. These appear as small things, but they are all encompassing and affect families. So, is a woman obligated to listen to her husband in all of these? It often is made to appear as though she is. And this makes me, or this person as a woman, feel like a child. A child is seen as someone that has not yet developed full understanding of the world, for example. But as they grow older, he or she desires autonomy and takes what parents say more as advice rather than a requirement to follow. Even then, parents' rights are understandable. They are the cause, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the child's existence. And generally, they do much for the children and out of care. But on the other hand, a husband and wife relationship is not like that for parent and child. A husband does not mean because of they're just the male figure that they know better or that they make better decisions. He does not have so much more experience or wisdom like a parent. So why should a wife be subjugated to the decisions of a husband simply on the basis of her being a female? What of her thoughts, experiences, and input? Men and women are awliya of each other. Should marriage not be a partnership rather than asserting power of one over the other? And in a related but comparative note, how does Islam compare to Christianity, which does seem to assert male dominance? So that question, as I mentioned, is a multi-part question. So how you wish to address it, inshallah, will depend on how you want to address which parts, and feel free to address some, and then I can always, go back and cover whatever is missing, inshallah. Thank you so much, Sheikh, and inshallah, we'll turn it to you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you once again for facilitating this and for the questions that are coming. Thank you for those who are asking the questions and also those who are listening and participating. And we hope that you share your feedback and perhaps even further questions if need be, so we can inshallah learn together. We have a recording, yes?
Yes.
Inshallah. Regarding the role of a man or the gender roles for both men and women, in a household in Islam, we cannot escape gender roles. Okay, it's very clear in the Quran, in the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt, in the practices of Ahlul Bayt, in the teachings of the Prophet to his daughter and his son-in-law, his beloved daughter and his beloved son-in-law, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Fatima Zahra, salamullah alayha, his daughter. All of those examples clearly display distinguishing between the man's role and the woman's role in the household. And the term that is used in the Holy Quran, since the question started with that, I'll address that. The term that is used, الرجال قوامون على النساء, establishes a role of leadership for men in the household. And when we say leadership, it is not to say that they are better. It is not to say that they're privileged. It is simply a responsibility. We need to understand that whenever Islam grants a right of certain leadership or certain status in the society, in the community, or in the household, it is not to suggest that now this person is better than the other person, or that this person has a higher status in the eyes of God, for example. Rather, it is a role given based on certain criteria, certain perhaps skills and abilities and capabilities that may be different. So the term qawwam comes from qama, actually, to stand. And we have, the term is commonly used. Many people are familiar with, for instance, aqimus salata, comes from the same term. So, often aqimus salata, our scholars emphasize, and people are familiar with the fact that it doesn't mean pray, it means establish prayers. Yeah. So qawwamun are from establishment. Okay, they have basically the responsibility of establishment of the household. Okay, of providing what takes to establish and keep a household standing. That is their responsibility. And so the ayah continues to say, بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ وَبِمَا أَنْفَقُوا. There are two parts. Often people see one part. Often people say, because they spent. Okay, this is very common, I hear from people. And they say, so what if she is the one who spent? Okay, would she then be the qawwam? And the answer is the ayah did not give one reason why men should be in charge of the affairs of the household, why men should be the ones responsible for the household and the basically establishment of the household. In other words, they need to make sure that they make the right decisions to establish this household. There are two reasons here. Because they spend, so they are to actually provide, and this is known in Islam and in many other, religions as well as societies. It's the man who provides. And so that is one reason. The other reason is also the fact that بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Amazingly, the ayah says, because of what God made some better than others. Okay, tafdeel is to give something, make one have a distinction over the other. Okay, so because of those differences in the distinctions given, that God has given some more than others, it doesn't mean because he gave men more than women. That's not what it says. So this tafdeel is basically to say that because of how they are created differently, how men are in certain areas, men have a greater share, and in other areas, women have a greater share. And now I don't want to get into the details of which areas, but we do acknowledge the fact that they are different, and they have different abilities and capabilities, physical, even emotional, psychological, and so on. They are different, and because of those differences, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this responsibility to men. I often remind mu'minina mu'minat that these responsibilities certainly don't make one better than the other. That it's not to suggest that men are better. These responsibilities simply, and if anything, it actually could work the other way, in the sense that this responsibility may appear to make women better or greater, because it's the responsibility of the man to take care of her. It's the responsibility of the man to provide for her. It's the responsibility of the man to protect her. Okay? So if you have somebody who's like diplomat, okay, the bodyguards and the driver, the driver sits in the driver's seat, and the bodyguard may sit in the front seat, and the guy is sitting in the back. Yes, people know that the driver and the bodyguard are actually in the position to guard that person because he's of a higher position. Okay. In this case, the man is to provide, guard, protect, be basically a shelter. Okay, both provide the shelter and be the shelter for his household, for his wife, for his children. When we see it in that way, it's actually a privilege for the woman to be in that position. Okay, and because he has to do all that, he has been given an authority, if you wish to say, a leadership. The role of leadership is a natural role in every establishment, in every organization. Any few people who get together, we have a hadith about it as well. If a few of you are together, make one of you the leader. Okay, in psychology and in even business. Okay, when you study even business related to psychology, which I've done both of those studies, it is known that there are some people who are naturally leaders. However, it is necessary, and that's why they say, try and have those natural leaders, the ones who lead. And it is a necessity for every establishment, every organization to have a leader. Okay, to have no leader and no leadership, it would be chaos. Now, because of the fact that the responsibility is on the man, therefore he is in the position of leading. That is what it is. He protects, he provides, he takes care of, he completely has to embrace and cover and protect his wife and his family. Therefore, he is in that position of leadership. Now that brings up questions. Okay, what if she is wiser than him? I think that was part of the question. What if she feels like she's in a better position to decide? Okay, she has more wisdom, more understanding, and so on. What then? Very valid question. Now, the good leaders in the business world, in any area, okay, a chef in a restaurant, as a good chef, okay, he or she, whichever leader in whichever position, let's say a chef, okay, they should not be disregarding any opinion and any kind of suggestion. Rather, they lead as a team leader. Okay, so they consider that the rest are team members. Okay, and they listen to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty God, says to his prophet, who is revealed to, who has access to divine knowledge and wisdom from God. Yet he says to him, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, consult them in your matters. But when you make a decision, then you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So a good leader should be consulting and taking into consideration the opinions of those who are led by him. In Islam, we are advised that not only the wife, but also children, when they come to a certain age, when they become in the hadith after the second stage. So when they're 14 plus. So first stage is 7, second stage up to 14. After that, they should be consulted. Okay, they should be close to you. They should be like your friends. You consult them. You ask them for their opinions and suggestions and so on. So the same thing applies there. A good leader, a good husband should be consulting and asking for his wife's opinion. In fact, in many cases, he might go with her opinion. Okay, in many households, that's what happens. He consults her. He, especially if he doesn't feel so strongly about something, he would decide that, okay, she should make the decision and no problem. However, the question arises, what if he feels very strongly about it? Okay. If then there is no guidance in terms of who's the leader, then there's chaos. In the universe, if there were two gods, then there would be chaos. In a restaurant, when there are two head chefs, master chefs, if you wish, then what do they say? Two chefs ruin the broth. Yeah. So what happens if there is a clash in a way that she feels strongly about something, he feels strongly about it, he doesn't want to give in, she doesn't want to give in. Islam says this is where she should submit. Okay? And this is the norm. He's the one in charge. He has to bear the responsibility of his decisions. Okay? He has to provide, he has to protect. Therefore, he decides, and if he makes a mistake, he bears the responsibility. It's even less on her shoulders, okay, to submit. And I have said it again and again, in many circumstances, when we sacrifice, when one feels strongly about something and lets go, that is, a hit against their ego, yes? And that's a kind of sacrifice. We sometimes sacrifice money, sometimes time, sometimes sacrifice the self, not in the battlefield and no. In this case, it could be sacrificing the self in the sense that one lets go of their position and ego, like me and I'm right. Oh, okay, let go, let it be. What happens when we sacrifice? What I've often said it to that when we sacrifice, God will give us the way out. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. If we are considering a duty to God in this situation, if our duty is to submit, if that is what she is told to do, and she does it for the sake of God, then God will make the way out, in the sense that even if she was right and he was wrong, and she said, you know what, you feel strongly about it, this is what God expects of me, I say, okay, go ahead, make the decision. Okay, and I will submit. What happens is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make whatever even error is there, for her sake, it'll turn out good. يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. You don't even expect something to happen, it will happen. You don't even anticipate it whatsoever. And it will happen, things will turn out right, because of sacrifice for the sake of God. And this is essentially what the concept of marriage should be. Often people say marriage should be a bad compromise, very, very often. And I have shared this with Mu'minat. Years ago, I was listening to somebody who was, it was in Australia actually, celebrating his 60th anniversary. Okay, so maybe 80-plus-year-old, okay, 60 years with his spouse, celebrating. It's an achievement. It's a great, especially in today's world. Okay, things are really becoming, in my humble opinion, this is bad. The way society is going in terms of lack of value and respect for the household and keeping the household together, and how frequently they give up on it and divorces are happening. So 60 years of marriage together, they asked him, the man had wisdom. They asked him what kept it together. He said, people say marriage is about compromise. I say they are wrong. Marriage is about sacrifice. And this is an amazing statement. Okay, compromise, it's keeping a tally. Now I'm compromised, next time it's, but sacrifice, you do it for the sake of God. Sacrifice is actually a godly concept. When you sacrifice, you do it for the sake of God. And when we do something for the sake of God, we don't keep a tally. We don't, okay, no, I did it for the sake of God. And when we do something for the sake of God, for God's sake, it will turn out good. يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب. So essentially, what women should be doing is they should practice their feminine energy. What is happening today in today's society, and it's very, very often that we hear from psychologists and perhaps social workers or people who are specialized in social studies, they have emphasized that we as a society, we have gone wrong. Okay? We are or we're pushing women in a situation where they feel the need to act like men, okay, and practice masculine energy, which is wrong. Okay, in a household, if he's gonna feel strongly about his opinion and act as a leader, and she's gonna do the same thing, it's gonna be a problem. But if she practices her feminine energy, actually, in most cases, she will control him. She will be in charge, but not by acting like I'm in charge, okay? By simply being humble and submissive, okay? By using her feminine energy, her softness, and her soft tone, okay? And not try to have a masculine tone to be heard. No, for a man, perhaps he feels the need to have a masculine tone to be heard. Okay, for a woman, she needs to use her feminine tone and her softness and gentleness, and things will, would be more likely to go her way.
Yeah. Thank you so far for elaborating. But I think women, when they feel like they just have to accept what is being decided, or the decision that their husband makes or the male figure might make, they do not feel as though they are an equal partner.
Very good.
They might feel as though they are, a child versus a father relationship, or a master versus a slave relationship. And this might be counter to what true partnership should look like. So how do you address something like that?
Very good point. Very good point. This is actually important to address it specifically. We pretty much mostly addressed it, but specifically the nature of the relationship. Okay, what women nowadays are expecting in many cases, or what the society is pushing them to expect in a relationship, is to have husband-husband relationship. Okay, masculine relationship. What we have to acknowledge is that we have masculine, feminine. Okay, equal doesn't mean similar. There are gender roles. In other words, she has to be the feminine, soft-spoken, gentle-hearted, easy going, more submissive, and basically the nature of the woman. And that's not to make her less important, or father-children relationship. Okay, father-children relationship is a relationship. Okay, now if the children were to say we need to be equal, how do we deal with this? Think about it this way. Okay, children, father, And I'm not saying that the father-husband-wife relationship is the same as children and parents, but let's shift now and look at children and parents. Okay, we want to be equal. That's not how it works. Your children, their parents. Okay, we want to be equal. He's a husband, your wife. Okay, that's what we need to like rewire our thinking to understand that there are differences. Okay, but that's not to say that they are less significant or they are not equal. No, they're definitely equal in the eyes of God. The only difference is taqwa. Ya ayyuhan nas, all people. Quran is very clear. All people, meaning men and women. But that actually gets re-emphasized. Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. We created you a male and a female, or from a male and a female. So ayyuhan nas, ya ayyuhan nas is actually all the people. But then the ayah continues in Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49, I believe 13, ayah 13. The ayah continues to say male, female. And then tribes, civilizations, or branches of the tribes and so on. And the end of the ayah clarifies that the most honorable ones in the eyes of God are inna akramakum indallahi, are the ones who are most God conscious or pious. Atqakum, taqwa. So in a household, man, woman, who's better? They're equal, and the honor is based on the piety, and that is between God and them. That is not for us to judge. Now, coming back to the issue of how they feel about it. Okay, they feel inferior, or like a children-parent relationship. That's not how it should be. That is definitely not how it should be. Islam tells us in the Quran that the house is whose house? Buyutihinna. It's her house. It's the wife. Okay. The hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, he says, the best ones amongst you are the best ones to their women. The hadith also says the ones who honor women are the honorable ones, and the ones who belittle them are the mean ones, mean characters. لَئِيم مَا يُكْرِمُهُنَّ إِلَّا كَرِيم. The ones who really honor them are the honorable ones. So we're told to honor them. We're told to be the best towards them. خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِنِسَائِهِمْ. The best ones are the best to their women. So we're meant to honor them, obviously consult them, discuss, and as I said, the house, her house, it's your house. Okay, you decide. For instance, that's how it should be. But if, again, this is where problems arise. If a man feels strongly about something, and the woman practices masculine energy instead of feminine energy to try and persuade him or convince him otherwise, what's going to happen? It's going to be a clash. Okay. To avoid these clashes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established that role. Okay. Al-Qayyumiyya, or Qawwamun. Al-Rijal Qawwamun is to avoid this clash, and for the household to sacrifice for the sake of the better good, the household, to value this household to be together rather than break it up. Now, again, today's society, they promote women to fight for their rights. You're equal. He's no better than you. All of these things, beautiful titles. Okay, I'm not debating the titles. Okay, but the practical outcome is what? Masculine energy versus masculine energy. What's going to happen? It's going to be a clash. It's going to be problems. And therefore, who is the victim? The victim is the household, okay? The family, therefore the children. We're unable to maintain the household together, therefore these children are suffering. It is well known that children who grow up in broken households are troubled, okay? And they're more likely to be, trouble figures in the society. It is a known fact. Statistics are very clear about this. So to avoid all this, keep his masculine energy and keep your feminine energy. Not to say he's superior, he's better. No, it is simply how God created him and how God created her. This is how they should interact. She uses her softness, and he uses his masculine energy. Not both of them having the same kind of approach.
Right. So I think I can see the other side, feeling that they're just having to be subjugated to the decisions of the husband, and just because Allah created them a certain gender, they might still feel that if they're more capable to provide better guidance in certain areas and decisions, why is it that they have to just feel like they're going and I get it, you're trying to protect the institution, but it still feels, if I'm speaking about the women, because I have to showcase this is coming from there, that they're basically, their thoughts, their experiences, their knowledge doesn't really matter, and they just have to follow whatever decision that their husband wants to.
That's, it is a valid point, and from one perspective, that's how it could be seen. But that's in troubled households. Okay, so in a troubled household, to prevent further trouble, you submit. Okay, you have two choices: either you break it up or submit. Okay, and so she has what she has been equipped by God. She's been equipped with the ability to submit and basically to sacrifice. This is for her children, for her family. This is something God has given her. Now, why didn't he give it to the man? Why did he give it specifically to her? Maybe it's the special honor that God gave her. There's a hadith from Imam Rida alayhi salam, quoting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, "Inna Allah ar'afu." God has more special kindness and gentleness towards women than he has towards men. So maybe that special kindness and gentleness that he has towards them that made them that way, therefore they are capable of keeping the household together. Okay? Leave it up to him, he'll break it up. He'll ruin everything. Okay? So she's been equipped with this to keep it together. That's a privilege. Realistically, that's a privilege. If they see it from that angle, that is a privilege for a troubled household. Okay? Because a good household, the husband should be honoring her. Okay? The Ahlul Bayt, they teach us and they tell us, not only them, but people around them. Okay? Ibn Abbas is not one of Ahlul Bayt, but he was, he sat with Imam Ali alayhi salam, as they say, rubbed shoulders or something. He sat long enough with Imam Ali alayhi salam to learn a few things, and through that he became what they call as the ink of the ummah, Hadr al-Ummah. Yeah? Because the tafsir of Quran, they refer to him. So many ahadith, they refer to him. Why? Again, he sat long enough with Imam Ali alayhi salam. He says, حدثتنا, he quotes from the daughter of Fatima salamullah alayha and Imam Ali alayhi salam, Zainab salamullah. She to him is a teacher. He says, حدثتنا عقيلتنا. Our wise woman, she narrated to us. Okay, so Ahlul Bayt told us, yes, women could be wiser than men. In some cases, that could very well be the case. It's not always men wiser than women, and it's not always women wiser than men. So when we say tafdeel, it's not about wisdom. Okay? It's abilities, more perhaps about practical versus emotional. Okay? So based on those differences, the leadership is given and this kind of dealing with things in a very rigid manner is for troubled times. Okay, when, for instance, the rights are mentioned, okay, in terms of the rights of the husband, the rights of the wife, there are two tiers of rights. If you ask jurists, they'll give you the level of rights that is specific for court cases. Okay, this is something that they can take to the court and say, he said he did this when he shouldn't have, or she did this when she shouldn't have. Okay, but there are so many other rights that are even of a higher level, but they're not a court case rights. In this case, leadership is there. A good leader does not make anyone in a workplace, and I'm sure some of you are a professional in your workplace, and some of you are leaders. A good leader makes everyone feel like they are the ones who are making the decision. Yes? When they assign roles or assign tasks, they let the person who's in charge of the task make decisions. Okay? That's a good leader. A good leader does not act like a dictator. Okay? A dictator is not a good leader, and we all know that. Okay? So, in a household, a good husband should not make his spouse feel like he is a dictator and she has to follow, and no ifs and buts, no questions asked, and so on. That's not how it's supposed to be. Rather, he should make her feel like she's the one leader. Okay, that's a good leader. But what if he is not a good leader? Okay, and it's a troubled household. What is the best approach she should take? Use their feminine energy, and therefore the household is the winner. Okay, therefore both of them are winners. Okay, and if she is the one who's sacrificing, she is the one who will gain the rewards for this win. So any goodness that comes out of this winning case, she is the one who harvests the hasanat, or the good deeds, out of it. So there was one last question. If there are any comments on what we discussed, we can also cover. But there was one last question about the difference between Islam and Christianity.
How is Islam compared to Christianity, which does seem to assert male dominance on the relationship?
That's so there is if we speak about the gender roles, that it's pretty much the same. The difference, however, major difference here is in the ideology. Okay, if we look at this is important to really focus on here. The ideology that then reflects itself in the rules and in perhaps even judgments, okay, that are made. In Christianity, it is suggested that women were created for men. Okay. In Christianity, it is suggested that the first error or sin was made by the wife, our mother, Hawa. Okay, and the devil came to her, and through her, he deceived Adam alayhi salam. Okay, so they say the shaitan or Iblis came to Eve alayhi salam, peace be upon her, and through her he got into this. She essentially was the one who deceived Adam alayhi salam. In Islam, that's not the case. In Islam, she's not created for him, and he's not created for her. In Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created both of them in nafsin wahida. Quran is very clear, one soul. Additionally, okay, خلقكم من نفس واحدة وبث وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. So this is essentially from one. Another one, in Islam, الرجال both والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض. They're each other's helpers, okay, supporters. In the journey to God, they support each other, they help each other, okay, hand in hand. They work together.
Supporting one another, Sheikh. Sorry to interject.
Yeah.
Awliya,
yeah.
Helping one another.
Yeah.
one of the questions was also if one is asserting power over the other,
Yes.
because they're trying to push their thoughts and their decisions.
Yes.
So it's a authority. So how does that
Yeah.
fit into supporting one another?
Yes.
It feels like one has to listen to the other and follow.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's a valid way of seeing it.
Right.
However, the ayah says they help each other. Okay. The other ayah says he has that authority. Okay. He has that responsibility. Rather, the ayah mentions the responsibility. However, through it, we understand a level of authority. Right? It's, qawamun, the term is used for the one in charge because it means he is responsible. Okay, so the one who's responsible is in charge. Okay? You're responsible for the outcome of your decisions. Okay, for this household, you have to spend. You have to. So that ayah combined with this ayah tells us that it should not be a matter of dictatorship. Okay, it should be a matter of helping each other. At the same time, should there come a point where a decision has to be made and there is a clash, there has to be a compromise there, and it is perhaps for her capability and for her feminine energy that is given to her, that's better than what is given to the man. She is capable of doing that better than him, and therefore there's a healthy household. So helping each other, but again, as I mentioned earlier, in a workplace, okay, everyone working together, helping each other. That's how it should be, natural, healthy. Yes. However, should there be leadership? Of course. In most cases, everyone knows their task, their role, and they're doing it. They're in charge of it. They're taking care of it. Now comes a point we have to make a decision, and there is a clash. Okay, difference of opinion. Okay, whether it be in a workplace, in a ship, in an army, in a kitchen, whatever it is. Okay, it should be a team. Team effort. Okay, the team working together, collectively making decisions, and so on. That's how it should be. Yes. But what if there is a point where there is a clash? Then there is an established leadership. What should it be based on? Quran says, there are certain things that He has given each of them based on that, and based on the fact that the man is spending. Based on those two factors, the man is the one who's to take charge and make those decisions. Again, they are helping each other. Versus a point where she's created for him. Okay, that is a totally different approach. Okay? They're not created for one another. Okay, they're not equal in that. From that perspective, they're not equal. If you look at it from she's created for him. Okay, so that's not to say that they're equal. Whereas in Islam, that's not the case at all. The other one is the first sin. Okay, which again, that reflects itself as an ideology, that reflects itself in their judgment. Okay, so they often blame women for the problems that occur, and even sins that men even commit. Islam says no. Quran is very clear. Their version of the story of Adam and Hawa is totally different. They suggest that it was Iblis came to Eve, and through her he affected Adam, whereas in Islam that's not the case. In Islam, Quran is very clear. فَدَلَّاهُمَا. In Arabic, we have the jewel as a pronoun. We have this singular. We have jewel and then plural. Okay. In this case, the ayah is very clear. He deceived the two of them with deception, and rather than the other way around. And the last point that again is the main difference in terms of who is who's in charge. They look at the man as in charge in general. Okay, not just in the household. Okay, like it's an inherent thing because of his spiritual superiority. Okay, in Islam, that's not how we see it. Okay. In the relationship in the household, there is that gender role and that authority based on some of their qualities and skills, and based on the fact that they have to provide and protect, whereas in general, that's not the case. It's not an inherent preference or spiritual preference because they are higher. In fact, we are told, Imams of Ahlul Bayt, they say, our mother, Fatima, is the hujjah of God upon us. Okay, she's God's proof upon us. So they are the proofs of God upon people, and she's God's proof upon them. Okay, like the position, for instance, of Sayyidah Maryam, Lady Mary, peace be upon her. Okay. Basically, Quran raises her into the status where in Quran, every time, or there's, I think, one exception, besides that, every time Jesus, peace be upon him, is named, he's named as son of Maryam. In other words, like if she wasn't there, he would not be there. Okay? She was, in fact, the answer of her mother's prayers when she dedicated her for God. And because of that, Jesus, peace be upon him, was born to her. Okay? So Quran says, Isa ibn Maryam. Okay? In one case, actually, the Quran doesn't even mention his name. Okay? Ibn Maryam is what it said. Not the son of Maryam, without even his name. Okay? So much status she is given in Quran regarding previous nations, or even in the case of Musa alayhi salam, and how God introduces his mother in their story and the relationship that she receives. وَحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى. And as obviously in Islam, it's clear how the Prophet ﷺ raised and declared the status of Fatima salamullah alayha. So spiritually, there is no superiority whatsoever. The gender roles have nothing to do with spiritual preference or superiority, rather a role in this institution of the family. So